Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going? Welcome to our Game of the Year show for 2019. Hope everybody had a fantastic holiday. Still have New Year's coming up, I suppose. How's it going, Alise?
Good. You?
Good.
Santa bring you anything for Christmas? Or whatever holiday you celebrate? Just made an assumption there. I'm sorry.
No, I think most of us that are older, whenever we want something, we just kind of get it, you know? And so
Yeah.
my mom's like, so what do you want? I got to get you something. I'm like, I could use a new cake pan, I suppose.
You asked for a cake pan.
It's like, just get a frying pan, cake pan. That's good stuff.
I guess that's true. I almost got my husband a Darth Vader toaster. I was this close. Like, it was on the Amazon treasure truck. It was this close, and I got a text. Oh, there you go. I understand. My son wanted to buy me a Switch. We'll talk about that later, but I told him no. It was a new thing.
But this is the third or fourth year we've done this show?
It's at least 3.
And then we've done E3 4 years, maybe?
Something like that. It might be 4 for both, but I feel really confident saying that you, me, and Navik have done it at least 3 times, and then maybe this would be the 4th. I don't know.
Yeah. So in chat, if you guys could give us a volume check, if you see anything wrong with the stream, let me know. But yeah, if this is your first time for our Game of the Year show, basically how this works is we have made up a number of categories that we are going to talk about, and we're also going to list our top 5 of the year. And then in addition to that, we also have a few just sort of general topics that we're going to talk about as well.
Yep. And please join in on the conversation if you, in the, I assume, Twitch chat.
Yep.
If you have something to say, I think we'd enjoy the interaction.
Yeah, Kirk says you're a little low, so I'm going to turn you up on my end.
Do I need to turn me up on my end? I can.
No, let me try this first. So we'll try about right there and see.
I can move my mic down a little bit more too, if that helps.
Yeah, I'm running a sound meter this year, and so I think we're pretty
close.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I had it up on my shoulder more, so.
Okay. So
you probably can see my fuzzy mic right there, so. Well.
So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and I'll kick off our conversation. This is a topic that I've seen around the gaming industry this year, especially the second half of this year. And it's when you compare this year to last year, or maybe even next year, do we think that this year was actually an off year? Now, last year we had God of War, which took pretty much every award there was, and then there was like a 5-way tie for second place where you had stuff like Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Detroit Become Human, Spider-Man, and several others. But it just kind of seemed like this year didn't have the caliber of games that last year had. So what do you sort of think about that?
I'm not sure I would agree with that. Is that so I guess you're going to say what your opinion is, good or bad, but I mean, if that's the Twitterverse talking, let's say, or the whatever, I think this year, I wouldn't say that it's less quality, but I think 2 things for me happened. We had a bunch of games that came out early in the year. Then there was kind of a law of big name games, right? And then a whole bunch came out towards the end of the year, like late fall, in like September, November, August, maybe. You had Borderlands that came out like what, July or June, July, somewhere there, beginning of August, something like that, right? Or beginning of September, somewhere like in the summer time. And I kind of think, and then I don't think there was any like God of War tier I'm the monster gobbling up everything and everyone loves me game. I,
Mm,
I think this year there was more something for everybody, but no game that was like Spider-Man, God of War. Odyssey is kind of on the edge of that because it really was very role play-y.
mm-hmm.
So like your your Destiny Crucible lovers wouldn't necessarily be down with Odyssey because it was kind of on the dirty edge. A lot of people liked it, but not universally. So I think that we still had a lot of good games. We had a lot of postponements too. So
Yes.
there was a lot of potentially that level of game might have been one of those games that postponed themselves. We don't know. So I guess that's it. I don't think it's less. I think it was more diffuse with no monster games this year. But all of them, most of the games I played, all were great. My bottom three games, any one of them could have been anywhere on my list. I
Mm,
literally had to sit there and basically make arbitrary judgment calls of where to put them because for me they were all very equal in my enjoyment and the quality. And most of those games got eight, nines, tens from reviewers. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So there was no like, oh, there were so many games. We could have had a top 20, and all of them could have been no less than an eight on an 8 to 10 scale games. So I don't, I guess that's my opinion.
Yeah. The funny thing about your comment of like, there's just games for everybody this year. I think when we've done this show previously, when we compared our top fives or, even Noviques, we usually had somewhere about two, three, four that were matching. This
Mm.
year, we only have one between
Yeah.
us that are matching.
Yeah.
So,
I like that. That was awesome, I
yeah.
thought. So, and that to me says that the developers are listening and they're not going for the same groups of people to start, if that makes any sense. That
Mm-hmm.
they're really looking at the pockets of available customers out there and going, hmm, maybe I could get this group and some of this everybody's going for. Maybe this group of people might really like my game as opposed to I'm going to follow everybody else, although there's still a lot of following. But we can talk about that later.
Yep. But yeah, as far as like the real big games, the big triple A's, this year you mentioned Borderlands. People have been waiting for a new Borderlands for a long, long time. And I actually haven't played it yet, but from everything I've seen, it's really, really good.
It
We
is.
finally got a new Star Wars game for the first time, and I don't even know how long. Like a good one, which I'm sure we'll talk more about that later. And then we're looking at next year, and again talking about the spring releases, and it just seems like over about the last, I don't know, 5 years or so, the spring Q1 in particular has become just a hotbed for releases because next year is just insane.
It's crazy. There's going to be people lost. If I were a marketing guru, I don't know how they, and I don't, I'm sure there's hard calls that have to be made left and right there. And I'm only talking to somebody who is standing on the outside looking in. I don't even have even 1/100th of the amount of knowledge that people on the inside do. But I just don't understand why, from my limited look in, why we're making that call to
Mm,
be one of those people. I really don't. They basically took, if you think about it, the holidays used to be the big, Q4, which is what that is.
mm-hmm.
It used to be the holidays, and now they've moved it to that. I know there's financial reasons. It has to do with fiscal year stuff
Yep.
and investor reports. And if it's a stinker, then maybe they can minimize how much it hits their bottom lines and they have to report out. And there's all that stuff. But when you get in there and all those games, somebody's going to get lost in the crowd that shouldn't be. And one of my top fives, I think actually two maybe that totally happened to. Um, I just don't understand. There are other months, even if they moved it up 1 month to January or back 1 month. I don't think is April as busy as like March. Well, it is, right? So like January, nobody releases in January anymore.
No,
Nobody
this
releases in like May, June. So it just I guess I don't understand. But
Yeah, for 2020, there's only one game coming out in January that I can think of, and that's the new Dragon Ball Z RPG. And then after that, then it kicks in a gear with um, Doom and Cyberpunk and just everything else that's coming out. It's just, yeah, it's gonna be
yeah,
crazy.
I can hear Novik in my head right now. We're missing our weeb friend going Dragon Ball. But yeah, it's amazing.
Well, if we want to, we can switch on over to one of your topics. Which one did you want to kick into?
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if I was going to do one of those.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, how about we talk about gosh. Um, okay, well we kind of hit one of the ones that I had. So let's talk about accessibility. How do you feel about the whole accessibility discussion that happens to be happening kind of left and right? And we had, and I mentioned I think a couple of times when we had talks before, not on stream obviously, but I had linked a couple of articles, especially the coalition this year who made Gears 5, went into accessibility really hard. And then we had the earlier controversy earlier this year with the From Software's products,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a lot of disability activists that have been very critical. I'm trying to say this and still be fair. There's that whole discussion about creators and and they should be able to create what they want, and then players being able to actually have the opportunity to play whatever games they want. So that's what we have, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit more insight into that for people who might not be aware of what we're talking about. So, Sekiro came out, and that game it had no difficulty settings, and it's basically a 10 out of 10 difficulty. And so there were some people who basically said, "Oh, the game should have, um, a difficulty slider, and anybody should be able to play it, and that sort of thing." And um, many members of the community, and I think probably the developers too, you can correct me on that if I'm wrong, um, basically said, well, this is the game we made. This is the so-called like art form that we have chosen. We want it to be a 10 out of 10 hard.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, if you can't do it, then that's too bad.
Right.
So, yeah, the question that you're
And
asking and that a lot of other people are is, should every game be accessible to everyone? That's part of it.
right, that's part of it.
Um,
The other piece is too, when you start talking about um, the other side of that coin was basically there's levels there, but also is when we have more and more games that go this direction. So for those of you who've ever heard of the game Dark Souls, like you can't swing a stick and not hit a developer who wants to label their game as Dark Souls um, like they're everywhere. And as more developers decide to do that, the argument has always been that, well, we're making this and this is a niche game, right? The AAA games in general have to be more accessible to many more people, right?
mm-hmm.
From Software is actually a small or studio. It's like a medium-sized studio, small medium. It is not a AAA studio. So they're making games for people who really want hardcore games and want to, bang their heads against the hardest difficulty possible that they can make, or that they have their available games, right? That's a certain group of people, and it's actually a pretty small population of gamers. But as you start getting more and more developers who love that and want to bring it into their game, those games get bigger and bigger with audience size, then you start excluding people. And there are a lot of people who just don't have the reaction time, don't have thumbs maybe, right? It like physically cannot operate controls the same way, that have to have accommodations to be able to play a game. You broaden that pool bigger and bigger and bigger, and then you start pushing more people out. The accessibility, there are some games I just don't play. I've never played the Dark Souls games. I know I can't. I'll throw my controller and I'll break it. I just don't do it. And I'm not mad about it.
Mm-hmm.
I respect the people who love that, and I think they should have a game for them. My concern has always been on where I fall in this discussion is that that's fine, but we need to make sure that there's still a nice selection of games for people who can't do that to play. And as that becomes more and more people think Dark Souls is amazing, Sekiro is amazing, we got to put it in our game. Well, but your game's a AAA game that's supposed to be available for 10-year-olds and 70-year-olds. I mean, do you really think that you should be trying to make it inaccessible for certain populations of games? Where's the line?
Mm-hmm.
So, yes. But I'd love to hear someone else's opinion.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, my thought on that has always been, it almost goes back to the whole SOTOR thing. It's like, I'll be streaming SOTOR, and the topic of clicker versus hotkey comes up all the time. And that is two different ways to play a game. But I think in the end, I mean, obviously, as a developer, if they were to make the game more accessible to everyone, they're probably going to sell more copies.
Right. And the game ages better. Yeah. Because we're all going to get to the point where you're going to need accessibility. Everyone is, unless you quit playing at a certain age and decide you're not going to play anymore. Mm-hmm. Just know for the last 6 years, I've gotten less. My reaction times has gone down just in the last 6 years that I've been playing more. So, and I'm not 50 yet. I can see it, but I'm not there yet. Just think about if I wanted to play as a 60-year-old. So, please continue.
But no, I think the bottom line is that they should make all games accessible to everybody. And if you are a developer who's worried about the difficulty settings messing with your art form, then it seems to me like the easiest solution to that is you make a splash screen at the start of the game that says, this game is intended to be played on hard with these settings, blah, 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 whatever. And then the hardcore people will do that, and everybody else will do something else.
Yep.
So.
And make sure you put it on your game. Mm-hmm. So that people who can't play that way, then don't buy the game, or know what they're getting into when they get there. That should be educating your population. But of course, we get that where they don't want to talk about that, right? There's sometimes a little shadiness where developers don't want to tell some people they can't play the game, and then you get anger and snarky stuff on Twitter.
Yep.
It's been a fun year. Oh my gosh, yeah. all the tweets about even being able to adjust text size. That was a day on Twitter. Yeah. Like a full day of tweets back and forth amongst people on Twitter.
Yeah, I think that's been the subject of multiple games. And funny enough, I was listening to another Game of the Year show, and they were doing the topic of what should 2020 or 2019 be remembered for, and their answer was PR disasters.
Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness, we could talk about that now. Like, how many games had a PR disaster this year? Borderlands?
Oh, that's like every day.
Start there. Oh my gosh.
Actually, Randy's been pretty good last couple months.
Yeah, last couple months, but that's just because he blew it out before the game even opened. I mean, people were asking him to step down prior to the release of Borderlands 3 because it was going to ruin the game. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's funny.
But no, there was stuff like THQ Nordic doing an AMA on 4chan.
4chan,
and yeah, it was messier.
Oh my gosh, that'd be funny. We really should do something. We should have everybody you should start a Twitter feed. Name all of the PR disasters for video games this year. Go. See how many people remember. It's funny. Oh my.
But I think we'll go ahead, as if we're okay to wrap up on that one. I think we'll move on to our next subject.
Please do.
I think we'll go with the system seller. So for those who don't know, PlayStation has been just absolutely killing it the last couple of years. They're exclusives. They're, this generation was won by PlayStation, and nobody's ever come close. But as we're winding things down, this year, PlayStation did not win. This was the year of the Switch. There were so many high-profile games that came out of the Switch this year. It was crazy, and so many Game of the Year contenders, too. And Sony ended up, as far as their first-party stuff, released 2 games, Days Gone and Death Stranding, and I think that's it.
Yes, and they lost Destiny's exclusive.
Yes.
It's not really exclusive, but they had content exclusive to PlayStation this year. When Bungie said goodbye to Activision, that got broken. And Destiny is like by far played on PS4 over the other options. And it's supposed to go to Stadia, I do believe. Either it's there or it's coming next. So
speaking of PR disaster, Stadia.
Yeah, we could have talked about Stadia, but whatever. Okay, so what's the question again? I'm sorry. Was this the year of the Switch?
Yeah, basically.
Do I agree or disagree?
Yeah.
I would say I would agree. However, I do think that if we just talk about overall consoles in the wild, I do believe PlayStation is still by far the king of that. But if we talk about the number of new consoles sold, I do believe that the Switch spanked everybody.
Yep. And just
which
game
is pretty
releases
impressive.
too.
Correct. I mean, it's pretty impressive when you think about a game that doesn't. The Nintendo advertises games, but not nearly like Sony does or anything else. So, and they're more, I don't want to say niche games, but kinda. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure that too many of my game playing friends have played Fire Emblem, let's say, or one of the other more exclusive Switch games, unless they had a Switch or even know about them. So that's pretty impressive for Nintendo, and it makes me very happy because I really like having a portable console. My PS4, my Vita just died this year. The one joystick went. So I'm really sad because I liked being able to play Warframe upstairs in my bed on my Vita. But so that really makes me happy. I think it's awesome. I like Nintendo in the world, being that they've been such a trailblazer historically anyway.
Yeah. One quick question out of chat that I will answer. Somebody was asking, isn't the Switch just a handheld? No, it's actually not. There's actually a couple different versions of it, but the main version has a docking station that you straight up just hook right into your TV, and a lot of people do it that way. But otherwise, you just pop it out of the docking station, and it's a handheld, so it's actually both.
And even when you have it not docked, the difference between it and, say, like a Nintendo DS or a Vita is that you can take the controllers off. I can't tell you how many times I've been on a plane where I've seen people playing like Mario Kart with it on the screen on the kickstand and the Joy-Cons off. And they even have gyroscopes in there, so you can use them like a steering wheel in that game. It's really amazing. If we get outside, we're talking about a hardware point of view, the advances that they made on the Switch is just amazing, really. And you can actually buy even like a regular controller and hook it up to it too, if you don't want to use little Joy-Cons. But it's just amazing. I don't own one, but I got to play it at PAX before they release. So I got to play Mario Kart and something else. Oh, Breath of the Wild. And it was just amazing. I have a friend who has one too, for being able to have console accessibility on the road. And it's at a lower price point than a gaming laptop. So.
And a lot of people have said that the Switch has turned into an indie game machine too. There's so many indie games that are being released on the Switch. It's nuts.
Speaking of which, I have to stop for a minute. My Boyfriend Dungeon is not releasing on Steam this year. It's going to the Switch. I don't have it. Like, I was holding a spot, as Kidley knows, up until the dirty last minute for Boyfriend Dungeon to come out on my Game of the Year list, and they're not releasing them. on Steam until next year, and they're going to Switch first. And I am so upset about it. But yeah, I mean, it'll be good on there since it's one of those little dungeon grinders and whatever. I'm still mad about it.
And shoot, I think you just brought up a whole new topic that I don't even know if we want to get into, but 2019 could be known as the year of exclusives.
Yeah,
Epic Game Store and all that stuff.
I mean, it could be. We got, I mean, several games that are considered Game of the Year contenders are just on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
There's you just mentioned two that were Game of the Year contestants on the Game Awards that are PS4. At least I don't know if Days Gone was, but Death
Mm.
Stranding was.
Yeah.
It's a PS4 exclusive. Um, you've got Epic Store. I don't think are they technically exclusives if they release a year later on other
Or
platforms
timed
for the Epic,
exclusives
right?
is
But
the
I
yeah.
mean, like Borderlands 3, right, was an Epic Store exclusive unless you got it on PlayStation, which I was the smart one and did that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Red Dead Redemption. That
Yeah.
was this year,
That's
right?
on Steam now.
Yeah, it's on Steam now, but it originally came out timed on PS4, right? Wasn't it originally exclusive on the PS4
Yeah,
and then came to
it
Steam?
was a year for Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah.
But
So
those guys, they normally delay their PC ports for a while because they actually, make them really good.
yeah.
But yeah, when they did the release of the PC version of Red Dead 2, they did a triple timed exclusive. So they did their own store first, and then Epic, and then Steam. It was like, I
Which
don't
is a
know, a
whole
month apart or something.
Yeah, which is a whole nother ball of wax. Everybody wanting you to download their client. We can talk
Mm,
about that too.
yeah.
Everybody now wants to you have to run your game through their client. It's either timed or it's cheaper. How many people truly, raise your hand, want 20 million different clients on your computer or your platform to have to run your thing, or you have to register it through that client or that platform to be able to play it? And how about EA coming back to Steam? We talk about that too, which that's a hot mess because they screwed me over with my Dragon Age 2 originally when they pulled all their games off of Steam, but I won't even go there and be salty about it. Yeah. I think this is going to end up hitting people badly eventually. People could get tired. I mean, how many people want to buy Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon Prime videos to watch a show?
Mm-hmm.
How many people are happy about that? And that's where the video game publishers are going. You can see it. I mean, they're basically standing up with a neon light over their head saying, "Yes, we think this method is great. Let us do it too." And indie game developers are going to get screwed. But we won't even talk about that either. Oh, and indie games were big this year. That's another topic we could talk about. This was the indie game year, I think. Indie game year. Did we already talk about that?
It's funny you say that because I feel like I played fewer indie games this year compared to normal.
Really? I played more, but maybe it's because I hardly ever play indie games.
Hmm.
Not because I don't like them. It's just because there's so many AAA games or medium-sized ones that are whatever. But I mean, you had Greedfall, you had Plague Tale. I don't know if Fire Emblem is considered an indie game or not. I
I
can't
think it's
remember who
either a
does that
double A
one.
or triple A studio.
Is it? Okay. Um, I'm sure there's a bunch now. Oh, Untitled Goose Game.
Hmm.
Um, Outer Wilds was
Yep.
huge. That's an indie game.
Disco
I mean,
Elysium,
yep,
which
Disco
is
Elysium.
one. Yeah, Disco Elysium won more awards at the Game Awards than anybody else.
Yeah, which it's supposed to be a really good game. I haven't played it yet. I'm gonna guess though that is that a turn based? I can't play turn based games. I just cannot.
I'm actually not sure.
So I'll have to look. But I've heard great things about it. But to me, there's been way more. Maybe I should say there's way more high profile games that came out. Sea of Solitude got picked up by EA
Yep.
as a publisher. So PlayStation has been going hard for trying to get indie developers on its platform this year.
Yeah. Concrete Genie, that was a PS4
Yep,
exclusive.
yep. So I just from my personal experience, I played way more indie games this year than I have ever. So I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We're getting you into the indie market, Elise.
Yeah, maybe just a little.
Just a little.
Just a little. They keep if they could keep the turn base out, then I will do it. I can't. My daughter has to play those for me.
Well, cool. Any other topics you want to discuss before we move on to categories?
I don't think so. I imagine we might put a toe in somewhere as we go along through some of these. I imagine we usually do. So
Sure.
I'll leave us some time to ruminate if we are so led through as we go along through the categories, maybe. Because I see quite a few games that are not mentioned very many other places we might want to chit chat about, maybe.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and move on to the categories, everybody. So basically what we've got is I'm just going to go ahead and just go through all the categories so you guys know. So we're doing a best graphics, artistic and technical, best music soundtrack, dark horse, best game you didn't play, best ongoing game, the No Man's Sky Award, which I'll explain later, and then the most anticipated game for 2020 that is not Cyberpunk 2077. So yeah, we'll go ahead and kick this off with best graphics artistic. So what this is, everybody, is this is the basically the best game that we played that had a artistic art style. And if Elise, if you want to go ahead and kick this one off.
I'm up first. Okay. So I chose Borderlands 3. I'll preface this by saying I am crushed that Borderlands 3, this is the only category I have it in. I had looked forward to this game for, as Kidley knows, more than a year prior to it coming out. I went to a bunch of like launchy stuff too at Comic Con, and I didn't go to PAX last year, so it was primarily at Comic Con, but and I watched all the stuff. So I'm sad that it was only in this category. They got an award for me. But Borderlands 3 has that comic book cell shading art style. I really enjoy it. I think it fits this game really well. When you talk about this particular art style, Borderlands 3 is probably what would be in the dictionary next to it, as an average person probably would understand it. And it looks just as good as it did in Borderlands 2. So I prefer photorealism, but I really like the style for Borderlands 3. So that's my pick. It's Borderlands 3 with their cell shader comic book graphic style.
Yeah, and Borderlands 3, they actually did some really interesting things on Twitch. Probably some of the best Twitch extensions that they've done. You can actually just as a viewer earn loot that the player is earning in game, and then there's also another thing that you can do where chat can actually control certain bosses, which is pretty neat.
They really, really attempted to merge. There's several games in here. I'd say Apex was another one that really attempted to integrate into their whole marketing and customer base, the Twitch, game streaming communities. The Borderlands folks did really tried really hard to do that as well, and I commend them. I think that's something that really more games need to do. You're going to get more people to watch your game. You're going to get more interaction, which makes the viewing better if you have more interaction with your community and the streamer anyway. So, and then they also do the whole thing with the shift keys. So if you follow certain streamers or actually even the game, they'll tweet out codes for with shift keys, and which gets you loot in the game. And some of them are timed, some of them are static. So that's always been really cool of Borderlands, and they do it for all their games. So not just the newest one; they'll do it for 2 and 1 and the pre-sequel. So, um, yeah. So if you're playing it, to make sure you follow some developers in the Borderlands Twitter specifically. They also have it on their website too, all the shift keys that have been out, I believe. But make sure you do that so you get some free stuff, and watch people who stream it so you can get more free stuff.
Yeah. And I think there's places like IGN or some other websites that literally just have, here's all the active shift codes or shift keys or whatever. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, we'll go ahead and move on to mine. And so my winner of the most artistic game of the year is actually a game that we mentioned briefly already, and that is actually going to be Concrete Genie. So this was a PlayStation exclusive. It's also one of these games that tackles really tough subject. This one actually had to do with bullying, but I saw this game announced at E3 a couple years ago, and just by looking at it, I thought, you know what, this is actually really neat. It's sort of different than anything I've seen before, and you can kind of see here on the screen. You can literally just start drawing on any surface, and it's actually like a core feature of the game. You're actually like making monsters, and you can customize the monsters and bring them to life, and all these landscapes and all this stuff. And so the overall premise of the game is just this kid is just trying to bring life back to a town, and then these bullies are trying to bully him as he's doing it and trying to overcome all that. And it's just a really cool, a really neat, sort of little action adventure game. It actually plays a little bit like Uncharted a little bit. There's like climbing and stuff, and
really,
yeah, it's like Uncharted but with painting. It's really
cool.
weird.
I think my kid needs to play it.
Yeah,
Maybe.
But
I
no.
had heard of it. I remember it being at E3, but I haven't really watched a whole bunch of it yet. So I am glad, though, to hear about people putting their toe into this whole idea of, mental health, tough subjects, and video games. I think it's a video game medium is a good one, I think, for this.
Yep.
For those melding those things. Anyway, please.
But no, the game's got a great story. It's somewhere between about 6 and 8 hours long, and I want to say the game is only like $20-$30 or something like that. So it's, yeah, pretty good for the price. At this point, it's actually probably on sale. You can get it even cheaper. But yeah, if you got a PlayStation and you're interested in trying something a little different, definitely check out Concrete Genie. But we'll go ahead and we'll move on to the next category we've got. So another art category. And so this is Best Graphics Technical. And the idea behind this one is it's a game that just looks absolutely stunning. It's a game that, pushes other games forward. And so, Alise, what do you have for this one?
Okay, so Kidley took my game. And I was trying not to pick one that I had on my regular list. So I am going to say Jedi Fallen Order. The game is gorgeous. Respawn did a really good job of attempting to bring over what the wall running into the game, into the graphics that, it doesn't look like if you've played Titanfall, it totally looks similar, but it does look a little bit different than what it does in Titanfall. So I was quite impressed with the way they tried to put the Star Wars spin on something that really is their creation. I thought that was pretty cool. So the game is gorgeous, just period. But then also just the animations with, when you parry and when you block and when you do the combinations correctly, when you get the kill, the kill move at the end. And all of that stuff is super cool. The puzzles. I really, so I've played half, a quarter, a third maybe of the game so far. Um, it's the puzzles are when I'm happiest because it totally gets to my Tomb Raider heart.
Yep.
So the physics in the puzzles, for me, that's all the technical stuff. What I interpret is that kind of stuff. They've got all these puzzles with balls. And if anybody knows anything about balls in video games, they can be very frustrating and they can be super cool when they work. I really enjoyed those, and me and my boys actually are kind of team playing it together. And so there's three of us trying to figure out how to do the puzzles, and eventually somebody goes, "Oh, I got it!" And then one of the three of us finally watching everybody else finally keys in. Those are always moments for me that makes a game great. So for me, it was Jedi Fallen Order. Gorgeous game. I do have beefs with this game. Maybe we'll talk about it later, but the game is very pretty. And if you want to play a game and be able to see places that we don't really see in the movies or the TV shows, I thought they did a great job in trying to bring some of that to life that you don't always see. Or if you feel like you want to put a toe into one of your movies, it's the closest that we've gotten to, you remember those movie tie-in video games that we used to have back in the day that they don't make anymore? You get moments of that kind of here and there through the game, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but that was super cool to see. So
yeah, I'm sure we'll talk more about this one later.
So Kidley, which one did you pick?
So as Alise just said, I'm trying to make sure that I don't have too many videos rolling here on my computer. There was one game that really stood out for graphics this year, and kind of going back to our subject of what could 2019 be remembered for. 2019 could be the year of ray tracing and RTX. And really, there's only about a handful of games, maybe 10 or less, that have really gone into ray tracing, and most of them are just kind of half-assing it. I can only think of maybe 2 or 3 games that have gone full-blown on their ray tracing, and the one I'm about to show you is the one that has absolutely done it the best. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be Control. I mean, the game just looks absolutely fantastic. I actually streamed this game, and there were times during the stream where I actually basically was on the Switch. It's like RTX on, off, on, off, on, off. And you could just really see the difference. It was amazing, the difference. And that's going to be one of the big things going into next year, because both of the new consoles, Xbox and PlayStation, are going to have ray tracing built in. So this is going to be something that only gets better over time.
Now, can I just say, I played it on console. I played it on Xbox One. And I think it's gorgeous, and I don't have ray tracing. So the game itself is just amazing. But I don't want to cut you off, Kidley, so I'm sure you have more to say. But I might jump in at the end if you don't hit the one topic that I absolutely loved about Control from a graphics standpoint. We'll see if we have the same thought or not. But
yeah. Now, this is another one that might come up later, so I don't want to get into my my speech just yet. So
can I just say though, the one thing that really stood out for me this game, and this was my first thought when I saw technical graphics, the powers in Control are so awesome. The way they animated it is just amazing. They did Jedi powers, in my opinion, better than Fallen Order did, which is amazing. Just the way that, when you do the grab, I can't remember what that one was called, but when it snaps back to your hand when you call something to you, just you can see the object you grab it. It's amazing, and I loved that. Made all using the stuff so fun in this game. So kudos to the animation team on this game. They did an amazing job. And the fact that this is set in a building
Yeah.
and it's still amazing. Like it's one building, an boring office building. Just you don't have to have a huge open world with 20 bazillion things. Okay, I'm going to stop because we're going to talk about this later. But anyway, keep going. I love this game. Hmm.
Nope, I'm going to just stop that one right there. So, all right. So, our next category is Best Music Soundtrack. So, what do you have for this one, Alise?
Sea of Solitude. I'm not sure how many people played this game. It's about, I think it's about PTSD and depression and kind of finding yourself.
There's a little bit of everything in this game. There's a little
Yeah.
bit of, it's like the parents were fighting and you had to deal with that at one
Uh-huh.
point, and boyfriend issues, and yeah.
Yeah. So they went into mental health issues hard. Again, I said earlier, I really wish there was more of that. We need it more everywhere so that it becomes less of a thing, right? In society and how we accept it. So, and video games are a great place to do this. So I think, thumbs up. And it's also one of EA's originals. So it's one of those that they pick up an indie studio, since we're not going to be talking about this again. They pick up an indie studio and they basically help publish them and give them tools to be able to get their game made, and they help them out. And it's kind of EA's way of giving back, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the soundtrack very much, I love the Child of Light thing. It reminds me very much of another game, the Child of Light. If you've ever played it, you should play it. It is a turn-based game. I do not know how I got through that game, but it's gorgeous. And the soundtrack is amazing. I listen to it while not playing. And my youngest does too. That's how good of a soundtrack it is. This one very much has moments of being the same flavor as that soundtrack. And so I immediately was like, oh, so nice. So it's a beautiful soundtrack. It's got relaxing moments in it. It's got tension kind of moments to it. Beautiful soundtrack to listen to. So, Sea of Solitude, a forgotten game, frankly, sadly.
Yeah. I know EA gets a lot of hate, but this year they released 3 Game of the Year contenders. So,
Which is huge for them because they've
yeah.
been off. Like I don't think they've had even one for the last 2 or 3 years.
Mm-mm.
So, and it's funny, the ones they thought were going to be Game of the Year were not.
Yeah.
So, it's just funny.
But no, so I'm playing Sea of Solitude on the stream right now, and yeah, for those who haven't seen it, you can probably tell that this world, I know we're talking about the music category, but the world is really neat. When they're trying to like mix in the mental health stuff with what you're visually seeing, it's really, really neat.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say
Shades of Hellblade, kind of how they did it too. Very, very similar kind of way of attacking, I think, the subject matter. Those 2 games are similar, even though one's photorealistic and one's not. But yeah.
I mean, this one could have been in the art category too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. I want to say this game was about 4 hours. Do you recall?
I know it's short. I don't. It takes me way longer than everybody else to get through stuff. So I'm never a good judge of how long something, but it is a shorter game.
Yeah.
So
And this is another one that's probably on sale right now. So if you're looking to pick up another really unusual experience, check this one out.
And if it's not yet, it probably will be soon. If you do the subscription for EA, the Origin Access, if it's not part of the access yet, it probably will be soon. I'd have to look again. $5 to play a bunch of games for a month with the basic. It's a really good deal, I think. And then you just cancel if you don't want to continue it. I've had Origin Access for 2 years. No, I'm sorry. Since Andromeda came out. And I bumped it up for Anthem, and then I dropped it back down. So it's a good deal, I think.
Yeah. All right. For my music category, everybody, For anybody who's a normal viewer of my streams, you might know that there is a soundtrack that I added to my normal playlist this year. And I actually opened up the stream today with that soundtrack.
Oh.
And so my best music soundtrack of the year is Cadence of Hyrule. And so, for those who don't know, this is a another Switch game that came out this year. Again, we were talking about all the amazing Switch games. This is actually based on another game called Crypt of the Necrodancer. And so they actually allowed those guys to do a Zelda version of that game.
I was going to say Hyrule Zelda.
Yeah.
You guys can tell I don't have a Switch because I don't know this game. But keep going.
But yeah, it's a rhythm-based game. And so you have, it's top down like classic Zelda is, but then every movement is a square. And so you'll have the music going, and every time you move, you have to do it within the beat of the music. And yeah, the company basically took a lot of the classic Zelda tracks and just did like a remix of them. And so they're like rock and roll versions, kind of.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's their, like I said, it's my favorite soundtrack of the year. It's just really good when you take the classic Zelda music and sort of rockify it, I guess. And yeah, it's good stuff.
That is cool. I'll have to listen. I always have to do this stuff on YouTube.
Yeah. I'll send you some links later.
Which, yes, please do. I like soundtracks.
But yeah, actually here on the screen now, chat, you can see there's that little bar, and then you can kind of see the squares. So you can see the little Zelda character. He's like going, ba-dip, 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 as he's moving with the music. Trying to kill the bad guys at the same time. But yeah, really cool little game. Okay, our next category is...
Just before you move on,
sure.
Was there another game that did something to music? I know Fee integrated music into the gameplay a lot, but not exactly. Was there another besides like Guitar Hero and stuff like that? Like, did something similar? Because for some reason at the back of my head, I keep going, I've seen this before, but maybe not. Did Psyonix do anything like? Well, they just did all the like Garage Band and the Guitar Hero stuff.
Yeah, I'm thinking there was something, but I can't
quite
remember what the heck it was.
There's something that feels familiar. See, this will bother you, and like a week later, you'd be like, "Oh, it was this." Okay, I just thought I'd ask. Please, we move on. I just thought I'd ask while I was thinking about it.
Yeah, it'll come to us like in 10 minutes or something.
Yep.
Next category for the show is Dark Horse. And basically what this category means is it's a game that like surprised us. It's a game that maybe came out of nowhere or something along those lines. And so, Alise, what did you have for your Dark Horse?
The literal came out of nowhere game this year, Apex, right? It was this year, unless I'm off.
Yep, it was a spring game.
I'm like, I was traumatized before we started, so now I'm like questioning myself. Did I pick the wrong game? Okay, so it was at Apex, right?
Yep.
None of us knew it was coming. It all of a sudden landed. We had Shroud and Ninja and all these people playing it. And it literally was just released with no marketing. And for those of you, like, marketing is like one of my little like hobbies on the side, marketing and like, right, like the earnings stuff on video games. So the fact that they did no marketing for this game and it blew up, and the only marketing that they did was to this little population. I know we're streaming right now on Twitch, but for an average person, you probably don't realize how small of a population all of yes, there's X millions of people that watch Twitch, but it really is a small drop in the bucket of all of the overall market. So the fact that this game like just blew up based on basically just hitting social media marketing like the day it was released is just amazing. And it also testifies on what quality the game itself is, that it managed to build a name for itself in such a short time with little help from EA. Partially because of the studio, again, same studio who made Jedi Fallen Order, did Apex. That's Respawn Entertainment. The studio head is a kind of a hero of mine because he's always been irreverent and has told people to stick it regardless, starting with Activision. And again, for those of you who don't know, I always have to do my little history lesson. The Respawn is from the same studio that made Call of Duty, and they is a whole thing, and they left and respawned themselves into a new studio. So Apex took it for me. I haven't played a ton. What little I've played, I played with kid, but it's a great game. Came out of nowhere. Apex.
Yeah, cool. No, going back to your Respawn comment. Yeah, funny. It's crazy to think that Respawn, going back to our EA comment, but Respawn had 2 Game of the Year contenders this year.
Yep.
It's crazy.
And they're considered a medium-sized studio before they got bought by EA. I think small to medium. And actually, I think some people put them in the independent category, along with another studio who we'll talk about later, Obsidian. Those two were kind of like the most successful of late independent studios for hire up until this year when they both got bought by big publishers to be brought into their studios under their label, kind of a thing. The Respawn getting acquired by EA and Obsidian getting acquired by Microsoft Studios. So, yeah.
2019 could also be known as the year of studios being bought.
Yep. Good. Yep. Whole other show. So which one did you have? I can see it, but we'll transition. Tell us, Kidley.
So my dark horse of the year was another one of these little indie games. And this is another one of these early access success stories. So this is Slay the Spire. Was in early access for a long time, finally came out this year, and has been very popular on Twitch among streamers and content creators. Basically what this game is it is a dungeon crawler with card mechanics. And so you have a couple different heroes that you can choose from, and they sort of have some starting abilities and like a starting deck of cards. And then as you're going through the game, you're going through the dungeons, you can actually pick and choose your path. You can actually upgrade your cards. You get new ones. And it's just all about trying to go through and beat all the dungeons. It's a very chill, very laid back experience. The art style is also a little bit unusual. That is like one of the complaints about the game. But other than that,
I haven't played this one. I'm not sure I've seen a lot about it either, but and of course I can't see the Twitch stream. If I did, this would be a lot laggier than what it is now. So how would you describe the art style?
I don't even know if I can.
Is there
they do kind of a hand-drawn painted backgrounds, and then they have the characters that are actually animated. I actually don't mind the art style. It's almost like an art style when it comes to the characters of children wearing costumes. But
you said hand painted and stuff. I'm thinking Chris, but not really the same, really. With kids in costumes. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I'll have to look it up.
But no, there's just
like that watercolor kind of a hand painted. Is that what you? I'll have to look at it clearly. There is not anything that is like it, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, I would almost say something like the backgrounds in Cuphead were almost more watercolor.
Yeah.
But no, this is just like a hand-drawn art style, I would say. And no, it's just a neat little indie game, and I'm always drawn to these different and interesting experiences. So like right here I'm showing on screen right now, that's what the actual map looks like. So you can see how there's like different paths you can choose. So it's kind of like, all right, how do I want to make my way through this dungeon? And you can see right here there's like little sequences. So all of a sudden I ran into a person and there's like a little bit of like, oh, what's going on here? And then you have different options. So there's like a light RPG mechanics and stuff like that. It's also a roguelite. So you die, you start over, but
So
there is an overall progression of stuff that Slay the Spire had that too, and Slay the Spire was a game of the year either last year or 2 years ago. Or no, not Slay the Spire, Dead Cells, I mean.
I was gonna say that you just said this year. Okay,
Yeah.
yes. Dead Cells was on
Dead
your list
Cells.
last year, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly. So yeah, this could also be the year of the roguelites.
Yeah. But no,
another what do you call it, from software, but frequently used in their games,
yep.
mechanic. Anyway, continue.
But no, we'll go ahead and we'll move on. But yeah, if you're looking for just a neat little indie card game, this game isn't super expensive. Actually, it's probably on sale right now with the Steam sale if somebody wants to look it up. But no, it's a really cool, just really chill game. So if this looks like something you'd be interested in, just check it out. All right, our next category. This is always a fun one. Best game you didn't play.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. We both have good games on here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you want to mix it up and go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Untitled Goose Game. I really wish I had time to slide this bad boy in there, but I just didn't. You play as an obnoxious goose through the game, and you do obnoxious things to people. It is meme worthy. It has been all over Twitter as memes everywhere.
He just stole that guy's glasses.
I mean, and I don't know how I didn't play it. It's totally like me. I enjoy obnoxious people in video games, so I didn't get to it, and I am so sad. This is on tons of people's best game of the year lists. It's another indie game, really well done indie game, and I just could not squeeze time out of my schedule to play it. Did you play it?
No, I haven't.
Did you? I thought for some reason you had.
I want to.
But yeah. Anyway.
I think it'd be a fun game to stream because it's just like utter just nonsense.
Right. I mean, there's no you're not out there to try and beat the game developers by proxy. It's not trying to teach you anything other than, I guess, being a jerk is bad. I don't know, and you're a goose, so you're not even a people. It's like hatful boyfriend or whatever, where you're birds, but you're dating bird. It's like you're a goose and a bunch of people, right? Which is just funny by itself. Yeah, if you want, you should play it, people. If you're looking for a game, you got some money from Steam. I think it's on Steam as well. Yes.
Yeah. Somebody in chat, look it up here real quick. What's this game going for on Steam right now?
Yeah, the Steam sale's going on. You get some cash. You should get this game. I want to play it with my kids. I think it would be a hit.
The skit that they did at the Game Awards was hilarious.
Oh, I missed that part.
Oh, you need to see that.
I'll have to watch it because I had to. What was I doing? I had an overlap, so I missed the very beginning of the Games Award. I was trying to watch it on my phone. I think one of my kids had a concert or something. Yeah, they did. My daughter had a concert, so I was stealth kind of trying to look at it while they were playing, and I was being a bad mom. Fitting for this game, but I missed that part. So
yeah, they actually did the Muppets mixed with the goose. So they had Beaker and I forget what the other guy's name is.
Wait a minute, maybe I did see that, but maybe I just didn't understand the significance. I remember going, "Oh my God, it's Beaker," but I didn't. Maybe I did. Oh yeah, I vaguely remember the now. I'm gonna have to watch it again. I was just enamored of the fact that Beaker was on there, and he was my favorite Muppet. But anyway, he was my favorite. So yeah, I'm waiting for Kid Lee's here. He hasn't played it yet. I'm gonna do the naughty finger. I'm getting ready.
So, best game I didn't play is A Plague Tale Innocent.
For shame. Okay, go on.
And the funny thing about this, and I think you may have alluded to this a little bit earlier, that maybe this game came out at a bad time. I don't know, but there's so many people that skipped it. And from what I've seen here in about the last 2 weeks, it's like a lot of reviewers have jumped on it real quick here at the end of the year to see if it's like game of the year worthy or whatever. But from what I've seen of this game is it's an experience unlike anything that's come out this year. And and you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm sure you'll talk about it more later, but it's kind of like in a medieval setting, and it's all about this relationship between, I think it's a daughter or a brother and sister.
Brother and a sister. Mm-hmm.
But there's some,
yeah,
I guess some light puzzle elements in the game, but it's basically just an adventure.
Yeah, and it's very, imagine Dishonored, third person, set in a pseudo-realistic medieval setting. They kept a lot of elements. So there's actually little educational bits in there. I don't want to talk too much about it because, yes, I will be saying something about it later. But so they really tried to keep it like basically like if you've ever heard the term urban fantasy for folks who are readers, where you take like present day, but you bring in witches and wizards and stuff like that into like present day reality. That's urban fantasy. This would be like medieval urban fantasy. It's not the same, but you know, I'm sure there's some term that fits exactly what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. There are supernatural elements in the game, but it's set in like what's the France during the Inquisition. So it's an awesome game. I was screaming about this game when I first started playing it. There's been several other like high name folks who were like, this game is amazing. Why isn't anybody talking about it? I think Control came out soon after this game. And I feel like kind of Controls took some of this. And it's I don't know. So there's lots of reasons I think I could go into it more, but yeah, it really is a great game. And just like The Last of Us, the most important part of this game is the relationship between the brother and sister. That's what makes the game amazing. They did that so well. And this is an independent studio. So it's a PlayStation exclusive as well. So it's one of their indie PlayStation exclusive games, which is another reason why I think it didn't get as much play.
Yeah. We'll go ahead and we'll cut it off right there because...
Yeah.
But no, it's just everything that I had heard about the game, everything I had seen about the game. Everybody just says it's great. And
it's a narrative game.
Yeah.
So that might be another one. You should play it on stream. I bet you it would do well.
Oh, yeah.
I think.
All right. We got 3 more categories. So the next category is going to be Best Ongoing Game. This is the kind of category that seems to be popping up pretty much everywhere, so I thought it'd be good for us as well. So, Alise, your Best Ongoing Game.
Okay. So, strangely enough, I chuckled when Kidley put his answer on here because there were a few this year I could have put in this category, but I tried to be different, which is why I picked Destiny 2. I could have picked Kid Lee's choice too, but I picked that one before. So, um, Destiny 2 moving to saying adios to Blizzard Activision or Activision Blizzard, um, breaking away from that studio, keeping their own IP. I really feel like I need to say, A, Bungie has done this twice now and managed to come out of it relatively unscathed, which is just amazing. So that just needs to be said before I say anything about Destiny 2's like rebirth this year. Um, you gotta give hats off to Bungie for that, because there's really no other studio that has ever been able to do that once, let alone twice. They lost Halo to Microsoft and still managed to come out like shining like gold after that. Then they come out of this one retaining the rights to Destiny, which nobody saw coming when they started talking about how they were leaving. And then they managed to pull the game off of BattleNet and put it onto Steam. Like, just mind boggling. And then the movement of people going from PS4 Destiny to PC. There's this migration now that is happening, hearing from many of the high level streamers for Destiny 2. They're saying people are playing now that they're playing. We're talking about the big ones in the community are going, I'm playing it on PC more than I'm playing it on PS4. That's amazing. So the game is amazing here. I've talked about it a few times. I know with Kidley and JT. I'm not sure, and I think I've tweeted some stuff, but I don't know that I've come out and just raved about it. But it is really good now. And this is coming from someone who pre-ordered Destiny 2 and was PS.
Yeah.
After it released. I put the game down. My kids had to drag me through finishing the vanilla story because I was so pissed at the game. Then Bungie lost their minds and decided they were gonna chase the hardcore people. There were so many people running around after, like, I think it was like 6 months later, saying the casuals are running the game and blah blah. And I put it down. New Light came out, which is what they called their new beginning, breaking off after.
And that's free to play too, right?
It is free to play.
Yep.
On Steam. It's also on PlayStation. They also brought in cross save, guys, which is amazing. My main account is on PlayStation 4, like everybody and their brother, pretty much, because of the PlayStation exclusive content and weapons. Some of the best weapons in the game, amazingly enough, right? Shocking, was the exclusive PS4 exclusive stuff. You could link all of your accounts to the one, and your stuff moves with you on each platform that you log in on. So you don't have to grind it out on separate things. I cannot tell you how much of a game changer that is for a grindy MMO like game. Think about Star Wars: The Old Republic if you could play it on consoles and PC and not lose your stuff. Just think about that for a second. Warframe. Everybody's banging the drum about Warframe having to do this because I have it both on PlayStation and PC, and I don't play my PlayStation very often, except for when my boys make me, because all my stuff's on PC. So that alone makes this game amazing. You really should try it. The graphics are still beautiful. Destiny could have been in the technical category. They've always been gorgeous. The gunplay in this game is the best that you can find, and Bungie has always been good at that.
Yep.
Halo had great. They brought it to Destiny. Shooting guns feels amazing. Like the selections that you have, the names that they put on the guns are really funny, and the little codex entries you have are really great. Some of them have stories, some of them are just funny. So if you haven't ever played Destiny 2, if you haven't ever played any of the Destiny ones because you're PC and you didn't have a console, now's the time to get in there and give it a go. The game is in a great place. I came to it late, so I have to rely on people like Dado who is like a guru for the game, but he's like, it's in the best place it's ever been. Um, and he's been with this game since pre-alpha for Destiny 1. Um, yeah, it's it's a great game. Go give it a try. You can get in there, run around expansions. They do a battle pass system now, similar to Fortnite. Um, they've got PvP, PvE. There are raids in Destiny. The raids are mechanically just insane. They literally take 2 hours or more to do, like old school raids. For those of you who are MMO veterans, there's no healers. It's all DPS folks, but give it a go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, kind of going back to what you were saying about just all the changes to this game. It's amazing what they were able to accomplish this year, and it seems like most games or most studios wouldn't be able to pull off some of the stuff that they pulled off with this game, and just amazing recovery for them. Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's really no loss of quality. The only thing that has happened this year that has been a topic of conversation is the content release has been slower.
Mm-hmm.
Bungie came out, Luke Smith, the game director, came out and said, look, folks, I want my staff to actually have lives. And that we are not going to be able to put out content at the clip we've been doing because we've been burning the candle at both ends. And
Yep.
we're suffering, and eventually the game quality suffers. So we're going to slow down the pace, and we're hoping that you all will understand and stick with us. And I really wish more studios would come out and tell the customers, guess what? This is get in there and just grind it out. But yeah, no, giving you stuff here for a while. I think then there's a delicate balance, right? You can also take too long. And I think there's a point to be made. There's a happy medium that you got to find where you need to be respectful of your employees, but you can't take 3 years to release something in an ongoing MMO type game. You're going to suffer some consequences for that, right? So that delicate balance. But they've been releasing like stuff about every 4 months or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not huge expansions, but nobody does it that way. Even ESO, who's on an amazing clip of releasing stuff. So that game could have been in this category too, but
yeah,
there's a topic for another day.
No, shoot, there could easily be 4 or 5 games that could be in this category that all deserve to be in this category.
I mean, this could also be the year of MMOs who are actually good. Year 4, 5, 6. Still, that was another one that we haven't seen. So, yeah.
All right. So, my best ongoing game. This one requires a little bit of a story, but it is Warframe. So, last year, my community kept begging me. They're like, you got to play Warframe. You got to play Warframe. You got to finally try it. You got to finally jump into it and all this and that. And so finally, I decided to do that this year for the first time. And I knew that I was going to like it. It wasn't, no secret where it's like, oh, I'm going to jump in. It's going to be terrible. I mean, you're a space ninja. It's nothing to be bad about that. But no, it's a good game, and it's amazing what this development crew does with another free-to-play game. You can jump into this. Doesn't cost you a dime. They don't charge for the expansions. They just dropped Imperium, which is the big thing that they've been teasing for at least the last year, probably.
Yep.
Which adds, a whole space element to the game. Mm-hmm. But I would say that this game and PoE definitely have some steep learning curves. I think Destiny is probably a little bit easier to get into.
Yeah.
But the Warframe community is extremely nice, extremely helpful. When I actually did those streams, I straight up put in my title like Warframe Rookie or something like that, and I had so many people come in and just, help me out. I'm like, what are mods? How does this work? And they're like, oh, you got to do this and this and this and this and this, and you got to grind this, take your rhino and
yeah.
But as far as actual
random you'll get random gifts from veterans because once you get to a certain like level in the game, like there's really not anything left for you to do but to basically be Warframe Santa and like shepherd noobs through the game. Like it because you've done everything. So that's like a thing in the Warframe community where vets will go out and attempt to help the newer players because there is a very steep learning curve and tolerance curve. You have to put your hurry up like in instinct aside because there is little that is fast in Warframe. But yeah, okay, sorry I interrupted. Please continue.
No, that's fine. And that's actually one of the big differences between Warframe and a lot of other shooters is how fast this game is. The veterans or experts, they will just fly through these levels at incredible paces. You know, I would almost recommend when you're starting out initially to almost put it in private mode or whatever it's called and just kind of do stuff by yourself and take your time and look around and figure out what things are. Because you do a public group and you get a couple of veterans in there and they're just like, it's like the level loads in and then they're gone. It's like they're like a mile down the road already. How'd they do
that? Yeah. Although there are some where you really almost have to do with other people the hijack mission on God, what is that series? I had to do that twice by myself on PS4 because the population is a quarter the size of PC PS4. And oh my God, I died. Like I failed the mission twice in a row because I just couldn't I didn't have enough shields to make the mission mechanics makes it very challenging for you to do by yourself. And I was playing on the healer frame, just not it's good. So you'll find those out as you play. But playing solo, I think, is a great idea for the beginning. There's nothing first 3 planets you can't do on your own.
Mm-hmm. And actually, since you just brought it back up, now that they have Imperium done, I wonder, will they bring in cross-play, cross-save?
Yeah, so they interviewed, I have some information on that, actually. They said the Imperium they're working on both it's either cross-save or cross-play. They keep saying cross-play, but I'm not sure if they're going to get to cross-play first. I think it's more likely they'll get to cross-save first. But this could be a whole show by itself. The mechanics of being able to do that when people have ground out stuff on both platforms and have like platinum on multiple platforms, there's going to be some issues they're going to have to deal with, with that. But they said they've got one group that was working on Imperium, and Imperium has 2 stages, right? The first stage just released, where you have to have a team, and the next stage is going to be when you get the AI NPCs as being part of your crew on your ship is the next stage. So they're working on that, and they have another team that's working on the cross-play, cross-save platform. And Rebecca Reb Ford, who's the director of live service, actually is usually good about telling people. She just said that, I think, like a week or 2 ago on Twitter. Or it was an interview at the Game Awards, something. So yay, exciting.
Yeah. But no,
I'm actually
really cool.
I'm wearing my Warframe t-shirt from TennoCon today. Just say.
But no, it's a really cool game. I'm glad that I finally got into it. And again, it's completely free to play, so there's no reason not to try it out. And it's, like I said, there's a bit of a learning curve, but the customization that you can do is pretty cool because there's so many different frames, and a frame is basically a character class if you want to call it that. But you can literally say, okay, I'm gonna play this frame, and I want to dual wield pistols and dual wield daggers, or something along those lines. So you can really say, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to use an axe, I want to use a hammer, I want to use a sword, a staff, a machine gun, sniper rifle. It's got like all those options, and you can really kind of play the way that you want. And there's a grinding element to it about grinding out X amount of frames and weapons and all that fun stuff. But no, it's a really cool game.
It's very RNG based.
Yep.
So you have to just go in knowing that it is an RNG based game completely. Absolutely.
Well, there's some stuff that it's known where you can, like, if you want to farm, I don't know, rhino or frost or something, it's like some of that stuff where you have to go to get it.
Hmm.
But
But you could run that assassination mission for Rhino. I know because we did it with youngest. It took us 60 times to get the whole Rhino. Like because we needed the systems and we kept getting the chassis over and over and over and over and over again because it is RNG every single time you do the fight. So you can get duplicates. And we did. It took me 3 months to farm Equinox.
hmm.
You have to build 2 frames for her. And then you put both frames together and build the final one. So you have to farm 6 parts, 3 days to wait to build the one, 3 days to wait to build the next, put them together and build the thing.
Mhm.
And you're farming all those pieces. So invariably you're going to get duplicates of, I need the day form chassis and I'm only getting the night form chassis. Like it's crazy. So you just have to go in like going, I got some cash. I don't know. But yeah. It's just funny to hear you say Warframe when I usually am the one going, Warframe! I think it was mine last year.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now for 2020, the next big free to play I want to jump into is Path of Exile.
Oh yeah. I think that would be good to see you play some of that.
Because
Um,
I don't know if you keep up with that one or not, but they announced version 2.0 for that game, and
I heard that. Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't really played it. I watched a little bit of it. I think it's slightly out of my wheelhouse. I know you've mentioned a couple times it reminds you of Warframe, but I think it's the thing with Warframe is I love all the different kits that you get. That's like my favorite thing. The Warframes are what I love about the game.
mhm,
So if I don't have that, that's what keeps me in Warframe is all of that. And now I've spent all this time and I have all my stuff, and you know,
yeah,
you kind of stay because you have stuff. but
yeah.
but yeah, it'll be interesting to see you play that. Also, we didn't mention, but there's going to be a new. If you want to talk about, they're going to be redoing the beginning of the game,
Oh,
and
Warframe, yeah.
one director is there's a director. What did he do? What was the director for what
Oh,
movie? Is doing the new beginning of the game, and they showed it at TennoCon. What's his
yeah.
name? You know him,
Um,
and we've
I
seen his movies, but I
I
can't
had
remember.
yeah, I forgot that they were even doing that because yeah, he made a
Yeah,
trailer too.
yeah. And it was in what movie was it playing beforehand?
Was it District 9?
No, that's the South African guy.
Hmm.
Was it the one with the we'll have to put it in maybe later. Maybe I'm gonna have to, but yeah, there's a game director who loves Warframe that reached out to Digital Extremes and said, "Hey, I want to help you at the beginning of the game." And so they showed it at TennoCon, the new entry of the game, and it looks just like a movie. It looks great. I can't wait because the other thing with Warframe is there is a story and there's a whole bunch of lore, but it's buried in the missions, and you're more worried about learning how to be a space ninja than paying attention to the story. And so you're just doing these missions and you don't understand why you're doing it. And so this new entry is supposed to give you more of a idea of where you're at in time and what happened before. So and it's gorgeous, the what we saw at TennoCon. So I can't wait for them to put that in the game. I think that's coming in 2020.
Oh, Doc in chat says that the District 9 guy was the guy who did the Anthem short. That's probably what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But this is another director. I'll have to look up who it is who's doing the new. But they rolled this out for maybe the Spider-Man animated movie. It was like limited number of screens, but it was a preview for Warframe with that new entry in it. It was part of the trailer they were showing in the movie theaters.
Yeah. Here, real quick, on the screen, I actually have the new Imperium stuff from Warframe. If there's anybody who hasn't seen it, so it's like you literally own your own spaceship. You can customize it. You can have people, other players inside of it, like doing things, running turrets. So this is like literally a split screen of them doing this. So the one on the left is the guy flying the ship, and then you've got two other guys on gun turrets, and then
And
they
then
can
you can
actually
go
go
out.
around and
Yeah, you can fly around. So if you like the flying in Anthem, there's some of that in Warframe too.
but yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. You have to build a hangar, you have to build a ship, I think, and yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
so maybe one of these days I'll get to that point, but
I think you have to make it through the second dream at least, kid. So
hmm.
there you go. I don't know if you've made it. I didn't think you had, but there's your goal. You got to make it to the second dream, and at the very least, you need to do that because that's like the best story in the game.
Yeah, I forget what planet I'm on off the top of my head. All right, we'll go ahead and we'll move on.
I'd be here all day talking about Warframe. So yeah, probably best.
All right, our next category is always a fun one. It is the No Man's Sky Award, and this one we agreed on. I think every year we pretty much agree on what the No
Yeah.
Man's Sky Award is.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, so just for a little bit of context, the No Man's Sky Award goes to either a game or a company that basically has the biggest disaster of the year. Because as I'm sure most people know, when No Man's Sky released, it's pretty much gone down in history as the biggest gaming disaster / lie that we've ever seen. Funny enough, that game's actually really good now.
I was going to say,
Um,
so a lot of people also use this award as one that they're a Renaissance Phoenix moment because they've come back and it's become a very good game.
Yep. So can anybody in chat guess what our No Man's Sky Award is going to be this year? All of you should have the same answer.
Yep.
But yes, the No Man's Sky Award is going to Anthem.
Yeah. Yeah. And understand, Kidley and I both were in the betas.
Mm-hmm.
All of them, right?
Yeah.
Closed and open betas. I think you did closed beta too, yes?
I think I did one. Yeah.
Okay, I did both. And I did the premium for access, so I got in early. I can't remember if you did or not, too. So I had early access as well. I had my misgivings before the game came out,
Mm-hmm.
to be fair, but I did want the game to do well. And yeah.
So I feel like we should go over the story for the one person in chat who doesn't know. Really good reporting by Jason Schreier from Kodaku. So Anthem was in development about 7 or 8 years, basically the entire length of SOTOR, funny enough.
Actually,
And
it started at the end. They said they started pre-production at the end of Mass Effect 3 when it released. So there you go. That's the time frame.
yeah.
Mass Effect 3 ended. They started working on Anthem.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, please. Sorry.
But yeah, basically the short version of the story is I feel like there were too many hens in the hen house, and there were just some infighting that was happening between the directors of the game, and they couldn't decide anything because in the report there was like there'd be meetings and then they'd come out of the meetings and nothing was decided, and just basically the development of this game was just one disaster after another. They were going into E3 week and they didn't even know what the name of the game was, and it's just
They were making Andromeda at the same time, and a lot of the people who should have been working on this game were also working on Andromeda. They were trying to make 2 games at the same time when really they didn't have staff to do that. I think he alludes to that, but doesn't come straight out and say that in the reporting.
mm-hmm.
You had a studio who had never made a multiplayer game that was lead, and you had a studio who has been making a multiplayer game since 2011, BioWare Austin, who was secondary, who should have been in the lead on the development of this game. Yeah, lots of reports in that article about people like snottiness on one studio's,
Yep.
you know, of who's who's the better studio, and you need to listen to us. Ego mess. Yeah.
I think there was reports of like really poor work conditions and that sort of thing, and crunch and all that happening too. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, just a bad deal for everybody who was involved. And of course, the rumor that we've heard now is that they're actually going to be remaking the game in some degree. So it's going to be interesting to see what that is. But
Mm-hmm.
Mark Dara is pretty much on Dragon Age 4 at this point, and a lot of the other people have left. And so I think there may be only a couple of the team leads left, and so maybe they can actually do something, good with it now.
I mean, I think that's good and bad, right? Well,
Yeah.
just for the Mark Dara thing, he was never fully off Dragon Age. He
Mm.
was executive producer for both Anthem and Dragon Age. And, according to that article, he was brought in to help get it to the finish line, which he has success doing.
Mm-hmm.
So he was really just kind of a temporary member of the Anthem team. So that's a lot of people freaked out when he was off the game, but he was never supposed to stay with Anthem. I'd have been pissed if he would have, being, again, as you all know, I Dragon Age geek. So I would like my Mark Dara back where he's supposed to be. But there's we had, what was his? I'm having a mental moment, but
Ben?
our friend Ben, thank you, used to be lead producer on SWTOR, moved over there. That's where he went when he left SWTOR, was Anthem, and he's gone now. He was kind of took the place of Mark Dara for a time, at least publicly anyway, it seemed like. So yeah, it's kind of scary, to be honest with you, if you look at all the talent that left over all of this. It's kind of a combination of Andromeda and Anthem, I think, together pushed a lot of people out. And a lot of studios actually benefited from that. Namely, I know many folks left before Anthem came out and went to Respawn, actually. So I hope they can pull this out. But what about gameplay, kid? What was why don't we do a good and bad? What did you like about Anthem?
The funny thing about Anthem is, like, the video that I'm showing on screen right now, boy, that looks cool. Visually, really nice. Gameplay, the different javelins, the customization, all that is great. There's just nothing to do. It's like you have a Ferrari, but you live on a dirt road. That's a good analogy for you.
That's funny. And for me, it was just work to play.
Mm-hmm.
There was graphical glitches, and then there was dropping. Like, I would crash the desktop all of the time.
Yeah, and that's still in the game.
I couldn't group up with friends. That was a thing all the time. The tethering, where it would yank you back if you got too far from your group. That was annoying as all get out. The mapping, I think, was a concern. Like, it was hard to see where stuff was. And everybody was all about the flying, but again, I'm a Warframe vet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have had flying and Warframe since I started playing Warframe. So I was just like, yeah, it's cool, but guys, you got to do better than this for me, because I've been flying in a video game for a while, and all my different arc wings do stuff. So okay. Yeah, I guess I was kind of looking for something different than what I've had, and I was expecting the story to be better. That is probably my biggest disappointment. Yes, there is a story, but the story is not, for me, was not BioWare level story. And that is pretty much the nail in the coffin for me. I didn't even finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's saying something. I've never not finished a BioWare game. Even if I wasn't a fan of all the other parts, I would at least finish it for the story. But I was annoyed as all get out, and I just couldn't. I couldn't. Swimming, underwater parts, like you'd get like turned around in the water, and
Yeah.
it was really a struggle to use in the water, and that was another feature, being able to go to air to water and transition back. And oh Lord, I hated swimming in the water if I had to do that through missions because that was just annoying. Um,
Yeah. Going
but the
back to
game is
the
gorgeous.
yeah.
What? Go. I'm sorry. Go on.
Just going back to the story thing for a second, from what you saw, all the voice acting and everything was good. Just the
Yep.
story was not there.
Yep. And the facial animations and all that stuff, they clearly learned from Andromeda to make sure that was on point.
Yeah.
It feels like they overcorrected from Andromeda with worrying about that and didn't put the other pieces in. Like, there's just not enough to do in the open world. And that's like, you have to do that in an open world game. Otherwise, people won't do the open world parts. It's just, why?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people do in Anthem. They just go run their version of the strikes or the dungeons or whatever, and that's what you do. And then run around and try and find chests, right? And hope you get a good weapon in there. It's just, I don't know. It's, that's all I can say.
Yeah. I mean, it should be noted that they have made a lot of changes to this game, and it is definitely better than it was at launch. When was the last time you played it? Do you know?
Oh, it's been a while.
Okay.
I've been keeping my hand in reading of what fixed, and I know we have several, I think, friends, community members that have been still playing it,
Mm-hmm.
who have enjoyed immensely what they've been doing. The things that they did for the N7 day skins that they had out were
Oh yeah.
gorgeous. Those were amazing. And if I had maybe played the game longer and had actually bought it myself, I got it through the premium Origin Access, is how I was playing it. Maybe I would have come back from that, but it just, I think my distance from where it was and where I stopped was just too it was too big, and I had too many things to do to be able to jump back in that. But
Mm-hmm.
those were amazing. Um,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It seems like every couple months, Redna on Twitter will say, "So is Anthem ready yet?" And I'm like, "Just no, not yet. Just wait. Just it's getting there. Just wait."
He's gonna have to wait, I think, for Anthem 2.0. I'm thinking. I think it's on Origin Access Basic maybe now. So if you want to put a hand in, check. I feel like it is. You'll have to look and see, but if it is, $5, you can put a foot in, um, and give it a go. Um,
Yeah, there were some times over the holidays between Black Friday and now where I know Amazon was selling it just straight up for like $5 and $10 and stuff like that, and so
you might
it's
be able to score a deal, and I mean, the game is worth $5 or $10 at the very least to put your foot in and
mm-hmm,
see. You might be one of those people who's perfectly, is like, this ain't that bad. Score for you.
mm-hmm.
There is still a community that follows it. They are still doing, I don't think they've been doing a stream here of late, but they're still releasing stuff. There's still community management on the game. They're still working on it, clearly. Like we said, there's rumors. I think Stryer wrote an article about that what he's heard is that they're working on Anthem 2.0.
Yep.
I hope to goodness they have replaced a lot of the people who left with people who are vets of games like The Division or Destiny, maybe even Warframe. Overwatch maybe even might be a good one. But multiplayer game folks, I think they could do with. And then for those open world bits, still keeping some single player people in there would be good too, to fill up those worlds with those areas of with stuff, lore or something.
As far as we know, is the current lead on the game, is it that Jesse Anderson? Because Chad
It's
left.
Yeah, which is sad. I actually got to talk to Chad at the cantina. Actually, he was at a Star Wars celebration, I believe, and he was all about it. So I just kind of went, oh, when he left. Um, I thought Jesse was the lead community manager, right? Isn't he the lead community
He could
manager?
be. Yeah, I don't recall.
I don't, I mean, it's possible that he has moved up, right? But I think, I don't know who the lead producer is, and I don't know that they've announced it. And it might be that they're trying to keep their cards close to their chest, maybe.
Yeah.
Um,
A little bit of a side note, but I always found it weird some of the terms that EA uses. It's like, why not use the term like game director and stuff like that
oh, yeah.
instead of like producer?
Right. Well, they actually do use it, but it's weird how they do it. And they
Yeah.
did it weird for Anthem, I thought, because the creative director and the executive producer kind of take the traditional like director on a movie
Mm-hmm.
position and split it between the two of them. The creative director is like Charles Boyd.
Yep.
He's like in charge of all of like the story and that, right? Same thing on Dragon Age. Mike Laylaw used to be the creative director, and he was in charge of the story. Used to be one of the story writers, um, and he did all of the anything the story, which actually touches a lot of things, right? But then the executive producer kind of, and then I believe there's a director that is over the technical pieces, and then you have the animation, the graphic, like the animation or the graphic chief of graphics, or the graphic director,
Mm-hmm.
something like that. They also have a narrative director that does both of those jobs. Is like under that. It's so confusing, but they break a lot of these kind of like in movies, these jobs where it's one person into multiple people. But they did it different with Anthem. You don't have a creative director on Anthem. It's weird how they did it. You don't really have an executive producer on SWTOR either,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because you got Keith, who's the lead producer, right?
Yeah.
There's not an executive producer anymore for SWTOR. It's Keith, right?
Yep.
Or at least as far as we're aware, it's Keith. It's almost like BioWare Austin, who has now taken over lead on Anthem, has decided to bring their nomenclature that they had already in place for SWTOR over to Anthem. So now it's left to us to try and figure out what's the Anthem version of Keith? Who is that? Don't know. Used to be
Yeah, I don't
Chad.
know.
So it's interesting to try and like figure that out. But I imagine when they're Anthem 2.0, they'll tell us all that. They're probably afraid of people getting razzed because the community exploded at them after Anthem came out, and there was some nastiness
Mm-hmm.
online. Nastiness. The developers came out and said not nice things back to the community on Twitter, if you remember that. And then they got burned for that, and there had to be apologies. And
So going back to PR disasters,
yeah,
one of our themes for the
yep,
show.
yep, yep.
All right. So bottom line is we all hope that Anthem gets redone and it's really super good and all that fun stuff. So
Yeah, we have to look back at our historical nominees for this category. Last year it was Fallout 76, if I remember correctly. You'll have to
yep.
correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what the game was the year before that.
I that might have
I
been the
don't
one
think it was.
year that we didn't agree, but I want to say that some of us did Andromeda,
Oh yeah,
but beyond that, I don't remember.
I feel like Andromeda was mine, even though I did like. Yeah, don't know, but interesting. We should do like a follow up. Which games in this category? How are they? Where are they now?
And from what I understand, Fallout 76 has only gotten worse. So
Yeah, yeah. What I played was enough.
all right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on to our last category before we move on to our top fives. Last category is most anticipated game for 2020 that is not Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah. Let me pick this up.
I can go first on this one.
Please do.
Mine's a little bit unusual. Now, Last of Us, I have not played. It is on my list.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, Kid Lee, you
I
just
know,
broke my heart.
I know.
Oh,
I'm actually gonna stream it. That's probably gonna be a January game.
you should.
So last year, my game of the year was Assassin's Creed Odyssey. For those who don't know, when they actually make these Assassin's Creed games, they actually do a lot of research into, whatever timeline or subject or whatever that they're doing. And so for Odyssey, according to the story that is out there, they actually had a bunch of leftover stuff. And so they're like, you know what? Why don't we just make another game? And so they're doing a game called Gods and Monsters, which,
So can I just interject just for a second?
sure.
Mike Laidlaw went from creative director on Dragon Age to Ubisoft,
Mm,
right? He did that standalone DLC for Far Cry. I believe he was either director on that game or a lead producer or something. And he came out and said on Twitter that they actually have a standalone research unit
mm.
for Ubisoft. So that's how you get this. Because he's like, yeah, if you come up with this idea, you just go over to the research people and say, hey, what do you know about this? And they'll get you all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this is not surprising that they had a bunch of leftover research material because they have a research unit. Can I tell you how much I want that job?
That would be a fun job.
Okay, please continue. Sorry, I just wanted to interject that little tidbit.
No, but basically, they said they had all this leftover like lore and story and stuff for Greeks and mythology and all that, and so they're like, we're gonna make another game, and so they came out with, or I guess they announced Gods and Monsters. We really don't know too much about it, other than the fact that it kind of looks like a Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
So if they're gonna do a Breath of the Wild, you know, style game that's in that vein based on Assassin's Creed or whatever, then I'm down for that. I hope they take their time with it, and I'm actually trying to show the clip here real quick, but there's so many good games coming out next year, but I just had to kind of throw off on this one.
I mean,
Just
Gods and
hopefully,
Monsters. You, me, and JT were watching that clip at E3. I believe it's the E3 clip, right? You're
yeah,
talking about.
yep.
The game looked beautiful. We all got excited about it just watching it. We didn't even know it was coming.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those that was a complete surprise when we were watching it. Um, and as opposed to the years where you pretty much knew what was coming with a few indie surprises sprinkled in, it looks great. I wasn't Breath of the Wild really wasn't my speed, but the game looks beautiful. I was interested watching it, so I am very excited to see it come
Mm-hmm.
as well.
And so, what do you have for this category?
Um, okay, so I really had 10 choices here. I'm not sure if I actually put it on the notes, but again, Boyfriend Dungeon was in here, I think, at one point and back out when they realized that they weren't releasing it and it's going on Steam. And I was like, ugh, it was supposed to release this month, I might add again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and of course, the second, The Last of Us is the other one that I started to put on here and stopped. However, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is something that I have been all over for the last year. I watched the rollout at E3. I think it was E3 or was it
Gamescom, I think.
no, they did it at GDC, I think.
Okay.
GDC is when they did their little role play thing and they did the rollout and they had the game. They had a little game that you played before that, which was basically Tinder for vampires. So I played that. I'm not kidding. That's what it was. And then you got stuff, and it was the lead-in, the whole thing that they did prior to it, and then it came out. I think I got a few other friends into doing all that too beforehand. Then we got more. I think they released more at Gamescom. Then they came out. Was it E3 that they actually did like an interview or something? I can't remember, but
I'd have to
um,
research. But the footage I pulled is from Gamescom.
well, that's fine.
They had
I
a
think they
30-minute
had a
demo.
playable demo that you could actually play at Gamescom. Plus, they had like a video or something. I think interviews. So for those of you who don't know, and I think I've mentioned, told Novik at least 1 year doing this that he needed to play um, Vampire um, Bloodlines One, the Masquerade. Um, the first game. It is a cult classic game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there were so many greats that came off that team that made that game that have gone on to be, you know, like gods of the video game world. I would spend all day sitting here reading off all of the legendary games that everybody probably watching the stream has played one of their games. But Troika made the game and then was closed by Activision the day it released.
Mm.
It released the same day that Half-Life 2 came out. Or
Ooh.
it was either the same day or they had to wait. They used the same engine of Half-Life 2 and Valve made them wait because they wanted Half-Life 2 to get out. But it was either they released the same day or within like days of each other. And the game was bug riddled. They kept the skeleton team on after release to fix the bugs, and then they ghosted. Um, the game is an amazing urban RPG, of which there's still not that many games in that category, and it was one of the first. You can play it in first person view or third person view. I have an issue, so I always play it in third person. I play everything, including Skyrim, in third person. Yes, I'm a scrub. And it's just the story is amazing. The music is amazing. It's just a very good urban vampire game. So many voice actors. It's like a who's who. The only person that's in it that isn't that's famous that's a voice actor that's not in it is Jennifer Hale,
Mm.
and maybe Troy. But everybody else that you've ever heard of is in that game. And there are so many icons in that game that you've seen, even if you've never played it before. I bet you anything. Velvet Velour and what's her face with the ponytails. I'm having a senior moment, but whatever. So, and there's been rumors. This game came out in 2000 and was it 5? You'll have to look it up when Vampire. But there's been rumors over the years. Um, I'm looking at the icon. It's on my desktop right now. Um, there's been rumors for years and years and years that somebody was going to remake this game. The community is huge, and they have been patching the game. So the community has kept this game alive, and there is a guy who releases patches every 3 months for the game. We're talking about a 20-year-old game that the community basically fixed all the bugs and continues to release. They've managed to go in and pull out cut game footage, like stuff that gets cut in the game that's in the code, pulled it out and put it back in where it makes sense. They've fixed broken pathing. They've added voice lines to the game that was in there that didn't get released on release. It's just this thing like Buffy the Vampire Slayer from when I was a kid was a cult classic movie, right? And now they're releasing 2. And it was supposed to release this year. It was supposed to release Q3. And they came out and said, yeah, it's not ready. We're going to release it next year. So we'll see how that goes. That doesn't always work out for game studios with release. So I hope that works out okay for them. Hard Hat Studios is an indie studio out of Seattle, is doing the game. So Troika is no more. They went with Hard Hat, which is an indie game. The original game was photorealistic. I am assuming that the new game, which I haven't seen a lot of gameplay itself, but I don't think the new game is photorealistic. I might be wrong. So if I am, I apologize. But
yeah, it looks pretty good from what I'm seeing here.
The story is really good. I mean, I'm so excited about this game. So it is slightly bumping The Last of Us 2 just because we have waited close to 20 years for this game. And actually, it has been, right? If it came out in 2005, I feel like 2001, 2005, it's early 2000s, I think. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. So we're talking, it has been at least 10, 15 years, something like that. So there you go. Bloodlines 2. And and the people who they got bought, again, the IP got bought by the people who do, what is that? It's not Civ. What's the game? It's one of those kind of games. Paradox Interactive bought it. They do
They do a lot of strategy games.
yeah. They do also paper and pencil role-playing games as well. So the publisher is Paradox Interactive, who owns White Wolf, which made the IP. The original one. So it was originally a pen and paper game that they turned into a video game. So it was a urban fantasy D&D, paper and pencil role-playing game. There was actually a TV show too, for those of you from the 90s who remember it. And I loved that thing. Yeah, so Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Excited. Play it when it comes out. Give it a go. If you haven't ever played VTM, try it. It's cheap all the time, usually on Steam. I think I originally bought it for like $7. And then you need to go get the unofficial patch and put it in so you can actually play the game. And there's all these classes I'm just telling you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the guy that's doing it, I wonder if he's just got one good download and that just does everything, or might require some research. But
yeah, do some research because there's a big patch, and if you just look up it on every gaming site has had an article within the last 2 years about Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. Any streamer who does RPGs has played it again or for the first time in the last couple of years. But there is a big giant community patch. I can't remember. I think if you buy the version on GOG, it comes with it. Somebody told me that if you buy the GOG version, it either comes pre-patched or like the links are in there so that it's easier to patch it if you buy the GOG version. I don't know. I got mine off of Steam and bought and downloaded the patch. The dude tells you how does it. The same guy has been patching this game for like the last 10 years. And there's things you can click on and off about the patch. You can make it harder or easier. You can it's not as extensive. The modding isn't as extensive as Skyrim. What is, frankly, but there's a lot of options, and they tell you exactly how to download it and put it. So it's pretty user friendly. I'm not the best at modding, and I could do it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it, I think. So give it a try. I swear to goodness you will like it. If you like vampires, if you like classes, if you like vampire magic, you can do that. Like, great game.
Cool. But yeah, 2020, we've talked about it a little bit already. 2020 is going to be insane.
It is.
Perhaps one of the most insane years we've ever seen.
Which comes with it's good and bad. This year, I think one of my big complaints is you've had a lot of games that got overlooked by the games media journalism. A lot of deserving games. I don't know how all those folks who did the Games Awards really honestly did all those people really play all the games they said they played? I guess those are the only people who could have, is people who get paid to do that for a living. I don't know. I have been circumspect of how good of a job people are really digging into these games to give them these ratings that then influence average folks to go buy or not buy a game. That's a whole other discussion we could have had as well. But
Yeah.
You group up so many games, somebody's going to get left out that really shouldn't have. And this game that I was just talking about, Vampire, really makes me nervous that it's going to be one of those. It's not a Last of Us, right? It's not a Destiny. It's not a Dragon Age. It's not a, even an Assassin's Creed with that name recognition. There's a huge community behind it, but I'm sure it's a minority community. Um, and those are the people that are looking for it. Now, they're coming out from an indie studio. I assume that they already have decided where their target population is. So if all of us Vampire the Masquerade folks buy the game, that might be enough. My concern is if it doesn't meet these high expectations that all these folks have for the game after sitting around waiting for this long, that's a danger. It's better to have newbies in there to buffer those people who are disappointed. Is it going to get that when it's releasing in spring, if Q4 of 2020 with all the rest of these other huge games that are coming out that year? I don't.
And from what we know, the best time to release next year is going to be June or July, probably.
Yeah.
Because I have a feeling like, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but you got all these games that are rushing out in Q1 because they're trying to make the Q4 reports. And then I have a feeling like summer is basically going to be dead next year. From about June through August, maybe even September. Because at that point, they're like, well, we might as well wait for the console releases. So you get our game on the new Xbox or whatever.
Which there's already some Mike, what's his name? Mike P. Matt P. Mike P. The guy who's with NPD Group, I think, industry analyst person, already came out and said that there's already some softness in the console sales. And his guess was it's the Switch and people waiting for the PS5 and the Xbox. What is it? Xbox the X or
actually
they're
just calling it the Xbox.
Yeah. So
that was a new news story from a few days ago.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't buy unless I was completely clueless or really, the Generation 4 machine. But that said, what I saw this year, if you notice, a lot of the big name MMOs though filled that spot. Right? ESO did their big expansion, released in August, I believe. Destiny released in September, early September, if I remember, the new light. So their new version of themselves, I think, came out in September.
Final Fantasy.
SWTOR had released theirs in September, right? If I remember correctly. Their expansion. And then did the new World of Warcraft expansion go out in August?
No, that was Classic WoW.
Oh, okay. Well, still.
Yeah.
Classic WoW. So that may end up being what that time frame is for ongoing games that, maybe that's their window, because otherwise they'd get in the mix too. How is a new expansion for ESO really going to compete against The Last of Us or, the Cyberpunk 20? How are you going to compete against that? So I honestly don't think you can. And of course, we already heard the rumors about Spider-Man 2 is being worked on, and God of War 2 is being worked on, and League of Legends is coming out with a new game. I don't know when that's releasing, but they just busted that out that they're doing a narrative PvE game. And
I think they're doing a couple because that was all announced at the Game Awards.
I know DE is working on something too, but I don't know for sure what that is. So, and Bungie's working on some game too. So, yeah, I'm with you. I got overwhelmed with games this year, i.e. my Twitter handle. And next year's going to be worse.
Yeah.
Worse. And I don't know how I'm going to keep up. So I quizzically look at all these people who call themselves reviewers of how well do another one and another weeks apart. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get paid the big bucks, I guess. So.
But yeah, just to sort of run through the 2020 list, which we did a little bit, but actually, I think I can pull it up. Actually, no, I don't want to do that because that'll mess up my thing. But yeah, for 2020, the spring in particular, we got the Resident Evil 3 remake now, which has been announced. And you got Cyberpunk, and you got the Avengers game, and I'm sure there's going to be a new Halo next year, which is unannounced. Well, I guess technically it has been, but
I feel like it is next year. Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be a new Assassin's Creed next year, and so it's like in addition to the games we know about, there's also ones that we necessarily don't know about. And you've got Dying Light 2, which was shown at E3 2 years ago, and that's Chris Avalon game. And another one is the other big one from Ubisoft.
Far Cry? Are they doing another one of those?
Probably, but that's not the one I was thinking of. The one with the weird animals that's in the space.
Beyond Good and Evil too.
Yeah, that one.
I could have put that in this group too.
Yeah.
That game has been 30 years. 1990.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the dude was crying on stage that they were finally making. I mean, the first game's really good. Go buy that on Steam too if you haven't played it. Yeah.
And the new one's a prequel, so
yeah,
everybody be jumping in on that one.
Yeah. Super. And you didn't say The Last of Us, but yeah.
Yep, Last of Us 2.
Yeah. So, super excited. But again,
just gonna have to pick and choose. It's gonna be nuts.
And then we didn't even talk about E3 and the trash fire that was this year.
Oh yeah.
Afterwards. So who even knows if there's going to be an E3 this year?
That's true.
So we don't even know what's going to come out. You usually get a hint of what surprises are coming at E3.
Mm-hmm.
And don't even know if there's going to be one of those. So
yeah, rumor is that there's going to be another mainline Mario game, which there hasn't been for a couple years.
Oh, that'd be cool. Especially, and I assume it'll be a Switch, either a Switch exclusive or a timed release.
Oh, I don't think Nintendo. Well, for their Mario and Zelda type games, those are Nintendo only. Forever, pretty much.
Yeah. There's been some talk. They've been talking. I think there was an article or something that they were discussing maybe doing a PC version at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's on the table, but I don't think there's been a definitive yes, we're going to, or no, we're not. So.
Yeah, it's like sometimes, like I know one example of a port that happened was Bayonetta, but that was done by Platinum.
Mm-hmm.
So
didn't they put what was the last Final Fantasy? Didn't they do that one on PC? Didn't that go to PC?
Yeah, but those are traditionally PlayStation exclusives.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're usually PlayStation ones.
Yep.
So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, and chat says Ghost of Tsushima, so
that's right. And there was some rumors of whether or not that game was closed.
Yep.
If I remember correctly.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they rolled out another trailer. So I don't know if that's because everybody was going, this game's dead. They were like, oh, we better get it out faster then. I don't know.
Yeah, that was the longest trailer at the Game Awards, I think.
It looks super cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm down with playing a PvE game that's an in Japan. I'm down with that, but I don't even know if that's what that game is.
Mm-hmm.
Because it also has Sekiro kind of like flavor there too a little bit, at least with the art and the graphic style. I mean, both of them are set in Japan, so duh, but
Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up the categories, everybody. It's actually been close to 2.5 hours, so we are actually going to take a break, and then we are going to come back with our top 5 games of the year. So if everybody wants to get up and stretch, we shall reconvene in just a couple of minutes, if that's cool with everybody.
Sounds good.
All right. So we'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes, and I'll put on some more Cadence of Hyrule for you. So we'll see you guys then.